Yeah, and that's somebody who, again, much like Joseph when he signed, Celestine's games were not being broadcasted out there anywhere. So there's not many people that knew about Celestine better than Joe did, for example. So yeah, we're really gassing him up here, and for good reason, because he really knows his stuff. I will say credit to Jerry, by the way, because when a lot of this Mariners core that everybody was talking about at during the rebuild got up together, Julio, Kirby, Cal, Logan, Kelnick, etc., they have refilled that farm system very well. Like, you look at guys not even just that are starting to get toward the brink of the majors. Again, Harry Ford will probably be in Double-A this year. Tyler Locklear's in Double-A. You can sprinkle in some others. But the back end of that farm, or not the back end, but the younger end of that farm system, loaded all of a sudden. You got the 3 first-round picks out of high school from this past year in 23. You got Celestine. You've got Dewell Joseph. You got Lazaro Montez. There's some, you've got, if you want to count Gabby Gonzalez and Michael Arroyo on the younger end, like, there is exciting guys down there. So the Mariners farm system isn't going away anytime soon.
No, it's not, and it's going to be even better after this year. Once a full year of those guys at the lower level of the minors, they actually play a full season of minor league baseball, and I think people are going to be really excited. Celestin, by the way, we did get a question about this as well, wondering like what happened to him. Well, he was hurt most of last year. That's why he didn't play. And he is expected to be healthy this season. And then you would expect him to start shooting up prospect boards and people start getting really excited about that young man right there.
And he did get back on the field down in the DR over the fall. So he did get back into some or it was either the DR or Arizona. He got back on the field in the fall.
Yeah, it was a very small sample size, but he did get back. You're right. He did get back and play.
Second question here. This is from Ian Houben. I hope I said the last name right. Houben. He said, if the M's miss the playoffs in a similar outcome to last year, does anyone get fired? Scott, Jerry, Justin, etc. I will throw this one to you first.
This comes down to what the Mariners' goal is, I'll say. What the goal is. And on top of that, what their financial situation is. Because if the Mariners are satisfied with, he says, similar outcome to this season, so I'll say, okay, so let's check all the same boxes. The Mariners win 88 games. Check. They draw 2.7 million fans. Check. And they have some exciting months. I can't say they can repeat the All-Star game because they won't, because they don't get to do that every year. But if they have that and Jerry and company pull that off again this season, no, I don't think they're getting fired. Some people might think that Jerry and Scott deserve to get fired, but if the Mariners are who we think they are, and I think we've seen them have quite a bit of patience with Jerry and Scott over the course of this quote-unquote rebuild, then I think it's just kind of hard to see, right? I think it is hard to see. Like, let's remember, Scott and Jerry have completed 8 years and made one postseason, and their seats aren't even hot. They've gotten flack. They've gotten pressure, but hot seat? You can argue. Some people might think Jerry was on the hot seat after this season. He certainly shit his pants in this postseason press conference. But besides that, like, hot seat? Not really. I'd be kind of surprised. I would be surprised. But then again, this is professional sports. These things do happen, and they do happen after disappointing seasons. So that's my take on this.
I just don't think it's going to happen. If this team were to win 65 games this year, then maybe we'd be having a different conversation. And by this year, I mean upcoming in 2024. But if it's a similar result, if they're around the 85 to 88 win total, I just don't see it. I think the ownership group loves that the farm is always good because they can sell that a lot. I think they love the fact that they now have some exciting young stars on the team. That sells. That gets people to the ballpark. I think they like the fact that they are in the race every year, which keeps people in tune. Even if there's a lot of people out there that expect more, want more, and again, I think we have all said that Mariners fans deserve a lot more than what they're getting right now. And I'm not talking about in terms of management. I just mean in terms of winning and investment from ownership. I think fans deserve a lot more, both in free agency, both in commitment from the ownership group, etc. But they're the ones making the decisions. First off, I think Scott very, very much has the respect and trust of his players, which I think goes a long way. And Jerry Dipoto, again, I'm not going to say he's perfect. I don't think either of us will, but he is a better GM than the last two guys. And I know the bar is not high, But you look at what Bavasi and Zarenzik once upon a time did, and now you get to Dipoto, who, in spite of not having the best track record with bringing in position players or success in free agency, again, a lot of that stems from ownership, there's a lot he's done well. He's drafted very well. He's developed very well. The farm system's good. He has guys with club control. So if that's what ownership likes and they more are in love with the idea of, well, for a lower budget and a lower payroll, we can just stay within contention, and we know Jerry and Scott do that, then it's hard to believe they would really make a change. Because here's the thing, if they make a change, they're not going to bring in somebody who's going to push back on payroll a lot. Because if they did that, they wouldn't get the job. Because if you had a GM or a president of baseball ops that was in charge and said, we need a top 8 payroll every year, this ownership group would say, next. They'd show them the door. So I think for a lot of reasons, it may stay the same.
If they felt like they wanted someone who could better manage a low payroll, that I might see. It's not even the lack of... It would be a lack of winning. But if they're like, okay, so we see Eric Neander with the Rays and a $70 million payroll regularly win 90-plus games. Well, the Mariners have cracked 90 wins now twice under Jerry Dipoto. What if we want someone who can go out there and win 90 games with that? So that's in turn not winning enough in theory, and we want someone that's better on a cheap budget. But that's a big hypothetical, because let's remember, firing a front office is not free. You know how much buyout money they have to spend on that? That's expensive. Let's remember, the Mariners now own 100% of Root Sports as of 3 days ago. 100% of Root Sports is all on them. So hiring a new front office, it's not free, and they got a lot more things to spend money on right now. And as long as they're winning 85 to 87 games and making money and bringing fans into the ballpark, then it's just kind of hard to see. It's hard to see. But I think that's a good question. It's something to think about. I think people were a little more certain after Jerry's press conference that it was absolute. And I, here on this podcast, said that. I did. I said, if they did not make the playoffs again in 2024, then changes would be made. I said that. But looking at the financial situation they're in, even if you or I think a change should be made, like, what would the incentive be of the front office if they get what they want? There would be none. There wouldn't. It'd be simple.
Of the ownership group, you mean?
Right. Yeah. Of the ownership group. What, like, as long as they get what they want out of their business investment, then what's the point?
Yeah, it's true. It's just, yeah, again, it's hard for us to say. I think that about covers it. And I think just watching how ownership has maneuvered over the last handful of seasons, that it just feels like the route they're on. And again, some people may be very frustrated with that. Some people may be very happy with that. It just depends. This fan base is a lot different with a lot of different opinions. But it just seems like from what we've gauged, that's where we stand on it.